Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Red Pill Diaries. I'm your host, your brother, and your friend, Rashid, and I'd like to thank each and every one of you for giving me your time today, because you didn't have to do this. For those of you who celebrate your holidays, I want to give a shout out. Happy Ramadan for those who celebrate it at a different time of year. I have to say it, Ramadan Mubarak, Ramadan Kareem. Those who have celebrated Thanksgiving. If I didn't give you your wishes, I'm saying happy Thanksgiving, belated Thanksgiving. Please charge it to my head and not to my heart. I'd like to thank everybody for joining me on the most powerful platform for truth, bar none, anywhere on God's green earth. This is your platform for education, elevation, and edification. This is the Red Pill Diaries. Shout out to my guy Joel Bradford in the building. Shout out to my guy Pedro 58er is in the building. Shout out to everybody that is watching, all of the people who are joining us and who will join us. The name of the show today is called Running on Fumes, an Empire in Crisis. Now, there's a few things that I want to address, and not tooting the horn of the show, but we were I would say light years ahead of other people as we watched what was going on. For those of you who are constantly looking at the show or watching the videos or something, you know that I did a show with Brian Berletic of the New Atlas. And prior to that, I did a show with my guy called Czar, and I did a show with Larry Johnson. And as I was talking to everybody, I was trying to show them the connectivity of the geopolitical playing field. The connectivity, all right? And I was trying to show everybody that what was going on was not confined to Ukraine. It was not confined to the Caucasus. And I was trying to show you that when America sees things, she sees it as a game, and she sees the whole world as a game, and she sees herself as the master strategist and the master technician to move the pieces around to eventually get what she wants, her in the UK. So when you hear me say the US, I'm always talking about, unless I specify, I'm always talking about the US and the UK, okay? These are two sisters, the two daughters of Babylon. They're one and the same. Just like when we look at Israel and we look at the policies of America, we look at the policies of the UK, they're one and the same, okay? So listen, everybody. So I was telling you guys that when you see a move over here, there'll be a move over there. And I specifically told you about how Syria would come into play and why America assassinated their lapdog, Rafi Hariri. And now you're looking at it as Russia is starting to cause the collapse of the front line of Ukrainian forces, and America is getting very mad. And now you see her, the ATACMS, the Storm Shadows, the other weaponry that she's passing along. We know that it's a little bit too late. Shout out to None of Your Business. But we know that it's too little too late for that. But there are multiple pieces on the game. And so they go over to Georgia. They lose out in Georgia. They're over in Romania. Oh, Romania is a saver because we banned some Romanians from voting, and we made the so-called democratic process fall to our liking. Okay. Then we're saying, okay, even though Armenia is reorientating itself to the West, there's still a lot of people who want the prime minister of Armenia out, and they fought him, which they should, for causing the collapse of Nagorno-Karabakh, I believe that's how you pronounce it. But now we see that things are not moving at breakneck speed in Armenia because Russia has bases there. We see that Pakistan is now realigning itself and openly now saying that we're looking more to Russia now. We're looking more to China now, right? And then we're looking at the play that America made for India and saying, we'll give you this technology, we'll transport you these advanced engines. And then India said, okay, but then at the same time, India had to check itself because it is reliant on Russia for a big majority of its military needs, and everything that it says made in India has Russian help to it. All right, I'm just being honest. It has a lot of Russian help to it behind closed doors. And then the Indian economy and the Indian economic rise is dependent on China. Let me say that again. India's economic rise is dependent to a certain extent on China. India is the largest exporter of medicine, right? But they get all of the ingredients from China. India needs rare earth metals. China is the largest exporter of rare earths. India needs investment in its infrastructure. Guess who's the largest investor in the infrastructure? In the tech sector, guess who's the largest? Guess who's the largest? So India had all this because it always wanted to be competing with China, and it always felt that it should have rose, had risen along with China or above China. And they have never let go of the 1962 border war where China spanked them. They've never let go of that. Okay, never. So America thought that she could play on these tendencies, but reality sets in. America is not bordered with India. You can't pick India up and move it to North America. But we do know that China is bordered to them. So now there's a reconfiguration of thoughts there. So America has to go somewhere else. So what is she trying to do? She's putting it out in the news now that America may now sanction Iran. Listen to this good, because this has everything to do with what's going on in South Korea. And this has everything to do with what's going on in Syria right now. All right. So America has come out. She put fillers out to see what the reaction of Russia would be, what the reaction of Iran would be, what the reaction of China would be. That they may start imposing sanctions on Iran for the transport of oil and refined products and gas. Guess who would that would hit the hardest? China. Right? So that's what they're doing. So they are claiming to be against Iran, but in reality, they're using that to block China from its rise. And they're trying to cripple China's economy. So what Iran and Russia has done behind closed doors have come up with some type of agreement for Russia to sell Iran's oil through land routes to China. All right. So we're watching all of this going on. And so America's losing out there. So now she positions herself to Syria. A lot of people say Erdogan, 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 Erdogan. Erdogan's mad because he was left out of the negotiations. And he's in control of Jabhat al-Nusra and all of that stuff. Listen to me good. He has a say in it. He has connections. But America and the UK run these terror outfits. Don't ever forget that. When you put the focus on a stooge, more people focus on the stooge instead of the people who are pulling the puppet's strings. Okay? So they would have you to focus on Erdogan. And instead of focusing on Joe Biden and his administration and the deep state and the UK and then Starmer and his administration and the deep state there. They want you to focus on the little man on the totem pole. Isn't that what they do all the time? When something goes on, they throw this person out there for the vitriol and for the political and public abuse, while the people behind closed doors remain hidden and they're still doing what they're doing. Don't you think that they do this on a global scale? Huh? Oh, yeah. It's freezing up in here, but I had to turn on the heater, and now I'm sweating. Everybody, excuse me. And I have these bright lights from, the green screen and the bright lights. Man, these things are so bright, they make you sweat like this. Maybe some of you who are looking to lose weight need to get some of those bright lights, those that goes with the green screen, because, man, these things are super bright. So then we look into what's happening in Syria. Is Erdogan playing a part because he feels that he's been betrayed or that he's being left out? Sure. But don't make this more than what it is. Who created ISIS? Who created Al-Qaeda? Who created Jabhat al-Nusra? Who created these terror organizations and who funds them? For 1 minute, I want you to understand something. You mean to tell me that the United States is an ally of Turkey? The United States almost pulled off a coup, the United States and the UK, in Turkey, right? The United States has intel and surveillance across the region, and they didn't know this stuff was going to happen? Huh? Do you ever think about that? And so once we have to, you know what? Let me play something real quick, and we'll come back, because I want to come back to that. because I'm going to play the two clips that I often play because people have short memories. All right? People have short memories. So I'm going to play these two short clips to remind you who runs the terror organization. And remember that al-Nusra Front is a spinoff from Al-Qaeda. So if it's a spinoff and Al-Qaeda was started by Zbigniew Brzezinski, and it was a part of U.S. intelligence assets, then how in the hell did Turkey gain control over them? I'm asking. I'm asking this. Do you think the United States willfully relented its control over the terror organizations, which does not ever attack U.S. Soldiers and U.S. interests, while screaming Allahu Akbar attacks Muslims and Christians in the region? Never Israel, never the UK, never the US, with all of their military bases over there, with all of their military equipment over there. Not one missile, not one bomb, no hand grenade, anything attacks them. The US, the UK, and Israel. Man, stop this. But we can say that in Turkey, there are a lot of explosions. There are a lot of terror attacks. Am I defending Erdogan? No, I'm trying to put the onus where it should be and the focus on where it should be. If you let the rapist hide behind somebody who has been accused of rape, then of course he will be convicted because he's been accused of it. But somebody needs to move him out the way and look at the rapist, look at the murderer. That's what you have to do. So before we go further, let me remind you very quickly, and then we'll come right back and we'll discuss what's going on for real and how this ties into what's going on in South Korea and how it pertains to you, your salvation, and what's going on in the world, okay? This is your boy Rashid of the Red Pill Diaries. Check it out.
We created ISIS. I mean, ISIS is no less than the people up in Islamberg, no less than Gulen, is a CIA creation. John McCain, for heaven's sake, was over there with the ISIS officials. We created them. They came from the al-Nusra group, the Syrian Liberation Front. These two organizations combined, and they morphed into ISIS. It's our creation. We create them. We still direct them. When ISIS warriors are injured in battle, where are they transported? They're transported, for heaven's sake, to Israel. They're treated by the Israelis in Israeli hospitals and brought back to battle.
Well, plenty of the rebels have acknowledged that they've been supported by Israel, and they've thanked Israel for helping them throughout. In fact, arms are oftentimes caught. Israeli arms are caught on en route to the rebel groups.
He say we created them and we control them, right? So if we, and he's talking about the U.S. and the UK, created them and they control them, then how can this be controlled by Erdogan? He's only a tool in the cog of the empire. See, a lot of these shows, a lot of these people, they either don't understand or they're directly and willfully misdirecting you. We're going to play the next clip too, all right? But I just want to say they're either willfully or in an ignorant way misleading you on the source of the problems, all right? They're not going to the root cause of it. And if you never address the root cause, you can never formulate a cure to the disease. These are U.S. and U.K. elements. Like when we look at the House of Saud and we look at Arabia, you had a family step their name on an entire country, right? It doesn't say the Saudi Arabian Peninsula. So it says the Arabian Peninsula. There was never no Lawrence of Saudi Arabia. Lawrence of Arabia, right? So how did the word Saudi become the mainstay of that nation when people started calling themselves Saudis? When they used to just call themselves Arabs or Arabians. Huh? It was because of the British and the French and the U.S. They struck a deal with desert bandits who were pillaging, robbing, and raping people. And then they fought over control. It was that tribe. They fought over control, and the most corrupt and the most, I would say, unconcerned about life managed to claw their way to the top and struck a deal with the West for oil. Where do you think Wahhabism comes from? But listen to what I'm saying to you all. Don't believe what I'm saying. Go into British archives and read it. It was the British that started that Wahhabism. And they said that they could use that as an advantage to control the region, keep people divided, and continue with their interests being observed. So when we talk about Wahhabism and extreme Islam, that is a makeup, a construct of British and U.S. imperialism. Why won't anybody address it? Why won't anybody say that? Terrorists, those, and I hear this, and I think it becomes second nature, okay, to everybody. They'll say those Islamists, right? They'll say those Muslim extremists, right? And then everybody takes that, and it becomes fact, and it becomes a phrase that is used as a negative connotation towards Muslims and a negative connotation towards Islam. But if we peel back the layers of the onion, who radicalized them, who continues to radicalize them, and who gave them the radical doctrine? And if it's the UK, which history says it is, and if it's France, and history says it is, and it's the US, and history says it is, even Italy and Germany and Belgium played a major part in this stuff. And if history best rewards those who research it, if you are allowed to say Islamic fundamentalists, Islamists, Islamic extremists, those Muslim extremists in the nations that have perpetrated the crimes or labeling themselves as Christians, well, shouldn't you also be able to say that's Christian fundamentalism, Christian extremism? What the hell do you think back in Israel is to the T? That is a Christian fundamentalist mind. They throw out reason, law, and education to bag Israel. Why? Because their beliefs, their misbeliefs, I should say, is that Israel is the land of the chosen people. And they have a misunderstanding of the doctrine that they espouse. So this misunderstanding has polluted their thinking in their minds, and they go along with all of this genocide and crimes against humanity because they believe that they're doing it for the faith, even though the faith never asked them to do it. And I can prove my point to anyone who's listening before we go on to who created this, okay? Let us look at something. Listen, I told you I may not be the sharpest knife in the drawer, but I'm not a butter knife and I'm not a spoon. Okay? So listen. Let's go to something, because I want to address the fundamentalists, because I always address the Muslim fundamentalists. Now let me address the Christian fundamentalists, okay? Two sides of the same coin. All right? Now, your justification for bagging Israel to the hilt, even though it slaughtered over 100,000 people, destroyed infrastructure, schools, hospitals, and continues to bomb without let up Syria, Iraq, Lebanon, Yemen, and Palestine, right? Your justification for allowing that to happen is that they're the chosen people and your Bible told you that. Well, let's examine that for a minute before we go further, right? How did Israel come about? I'm not talking about according to what somebody else is talking about. I'm talking about what's in that Bible, all right? We'll talk about something. We got to tie this in because I want to explain something to you. People don't address these issues because, first of all, it forces them to face reality. It also conflicts with deep held beliefs. And besides, some people, when they make up their mind, they don't want anything to change what they want. So what we're going to do, we're going to lay it out here as we connect and weave this stuff together for geopolitics and economics, okay? So if you go into your Bible, it tells you how Israel came about, okay? Don't let the name fool you, Rashid Muhammad. Don't let it fool you. I'm a student at what I do. And it says that they weren't always called Israel, right? It says the angel came to bestow a blessing on somebody, right? Right? But the person that got the blessing wasn't the person that the blessing was aimed at. The angel, according to you Christians, listen to me good. It's in there. It says that the angel came to bestow a blessing on Esau. But Jacob heard the angel and went into hiding. And when Esau left and came back, Jacob ambushed the angel and he wrestled with the angel all night. And the angel said, let me go, let me go, let me go. Why? Because I did not come to bestow this blessing on you. This is not your blessing. This is a blessing for Esau. Jacob said, I will not let you go until you have blessed me. He said, the day is the beginning to break, meaning the light of truth is coming. I got to go. He said, I'm going to hold you, I'm going to hold you, and I'm going to hold you. So the angel said, okay, what is thy name? He said, my name is Jacob. He said, thou shalt no longer be called Jacob. From this moment on, thou shalt be called Israel. Okay? Now listen. First of all, from its inception, it robbed, it stole. Right there. If I go and take my brother's blessing, I stole it. Especially when I'm holding him at gunpoint. That's strong armed robbery. That's strong armed robbery. But we don't put that like that because we don't use common sense. That is strong. You are protecting a strong armed robber. Because listen, not only did he steal a blessing that was not intended to him, when he did that, he not only made himself an enemy of his brother Esau, he made himself an enemy of the person who delivered the blessing, but more importantly, he became an enemy of the person who sent the blessing to Esau. That's common sense, but nobody uses common sense. Right? But you're in this fanatic mind state that you can't see the forest for the trees. So instead of me continuing to tell you this, we're going to see who benefits from ISIS
against the state of Israel, political plots, and others.
You tell the story about how you tried to find out what they call the Mossad when they deal with publicly?
I thought it was a reasonable question, but the trouble is you can't pick up the phone book. There's no Langley in Israel that you can look up, CIA, or in our case, the Mossad. We thought we should ask, what shall we call it in English? You can translate the Hebrew words, as I said, Mossad is institute, but when they write a letter to their friends in the CIA or the British intelligence, what do they call themselves? It took a while. It was a matter of asking the Prime Minister's spokesman. The best you could do, because officially the Mossad is under the Prime Minister's office. And I think he sort of wondered why you want to know and all that, so we explained. And he came up with the Israeli Secret Intelligence Service. I mean, if it were to have initials, it would be ISIS. Just simple words like that. Interestingly enough, kind of a British model.
What did he say? Interesting enough, kind of like a British model. Why would he say that? Why would this guy say that? Because this is the exact blueprint that Britain used for divide and conquer for hundreds of years. And the United States just took over and amplified it. That's all. Man, listen to me good. Oh man, shout out to my guy Dolan. I gotta highlight Dolan on the screen. Everybody, I'm gonna go to your comments but I gotta highlight my guy Dolan Duckett is in the building. Thank you, Dolan, for the $2 super chat. Really appreciate it. So what I'm trying to tell you all, and I'm gonna leave that up there for a minute. And everybody, please support the channel like Dolan is. If you can't super chat or super thanks, please share and like. It doesn't cost you anything to like. It doesn't cost you anything to share. Spread the word. But before I go any further, I want to say YouTube. I want to say this to YouTube. Thank you for allowing me to be on your platform. At times I get frustrated with you. Like I almost got frustrated with you yesterday because you keep taking the subscribers. But I know that is your prerogative. This is your platform, and it's okay. I've grown past that. I just want to thank you for allowing me to have a show on your platform. I want to thank Rumble. I want to thank Odyssey, and I want to thank all of the other platforms who allow me to stream there because you didn't have to do that. So the trade-off is still good. All right. So I'm not going to bash you. I'm just going to say thank you. Even though you do what you do, I'm going to still do what I do. Okay. Now, let's go to something. As I told you all, these people, they are so... Hold on, somebody just put something up there. Somebody just put something up there. No No, it goes to the who was that just put that up there? Joel, it's a little more complicated than that. When you trace the true heritage and the genealogy behind it, it's a little bit more. Maybe and one day I'm gonna get into that, okay? But listen, so we see that America is the fanatic. We see that the U.S. and the UK and the West are the fanatics, not the people who are defending their land. They say, well, on 9/11, 3,000 people died. Well, that's true, and our heart goes out to that, you know, and death is never wanted, okay? But what about on a daily basis when hundreds of people are bombed by the U.S., the UK, and the Western world in those regions? They don't get to have anger. They don't get to lash out. They don't get that. It's only when you're struck that you scream. Huh? What I'm trying to show you is the hypocrisy of the West and all of the blood that's on their hand and how they'll switch something around. They'll demand that Iran. I was reading an article, and I'm gonna come back to this about Israel and Palestine and South Korea. But I was reading an article, I think it was on RT, and France was saying Iran is close to getting a nuclear weapon. Iran is doing such and such. And I'm like, huh? First, it throws me back because I don't understand how Iran and the rest of those nations even allow the West to even talk to them in that manner. As a man, how can you allow a person to talk to you? First of all, you can't say anything about a nuclear weapon to me if you have 100 of them, if you have 300 of them, if you have 3,000 of them. You can go sit down somewhere. You're not going to monitor me. You don't let me monitor you. No IAEA going to be up in there. You put them in your nuclear plants, and then we'll call it and then I'll put them in after I get what you have, and then we'll be even. An even swap is not a swindle. They're always, well, Iran may get one. You got 2,000. Or Iran may get one. You have 300. And I would not go into all this denial. I'll say what I have to say, and I'll leave it like that. So, well, we believe you have some. Okay. Well, we may have to invade. Well, do what you got to do. But remember that for every action, there's an equal or greater reaction. See, this politicking that they do is not what grown-ups, the everyday grown-ups would do. They act like children playing games with lives of everyday people. With everyday people. Think about that. The same people who are threatening to bomb Iran are the same people who are bombing nations around the globe. The same people that talk about democracy are the same people who are trying to overthrow the democratically elected government, the newly democratically elected government in Georgia. The same people who are talking about democracy are illegally occupying 1/3 of Syria, and it's causing terrorists to flood Syria again. The same people that are talking about Ukrainian territorial integrity and its independence and its rights, ignore the rights to African nations, ignore the rights to Latin American nations, to the Middle Eastern or West Asian nations, the Asian nations, and even some European nations. They push them out of the way. Let me give you an example before we go more into this. Now, I said this on one of my shows before. If you were in need of money, right, and I came to your porch and I knocked on your door, and you come to the door, and I have a big suitcase full of money, right, and you knew me to be this rich guy, right, hundreds of millions of dollars, and I come to your door with $2 million, and no strings attached. I just say, listen, here's my book. This is my game plan. This is how I started. But I'm gonna make it a little easier for you. I'm going to give you this box, this $2-3 million box, so that you can have what I didn't have at the start. Wouldn't you gravitate towards that more than me coming to your house with a gun and trying to force feed you what I believe and the way I came up and the way my life played out? Wouldn't you yearn more toward or lean more towards trying to understand me because I came to you in humility and showed you, hey, listen, I know you're stressed out by debt, but if you do this, this, and this, and I'm going to help you do it. I'm going to give you the financial seeds to do it. If you do this and this and this, you can secure your family, X, Y, and Z. Wouldn't that be more palatable or more to your liking? And when you gravitate towards that, instead of me coming into your house, kicking in your door while you're sitting down, holding your entire family at gunpoint and say, listen, I was poor too. I'm demanding that you transform your lives and do what I say do so that you can be more like me. So my point is this. If the democracy that the West is offering is so good, then why the hell do they have to force feed it to the entire world through the barrel of a gun? Common sense. Common sense. I don't have to be in your neighborhood. I don't have to be on your doorstep. If you see me and you see the progress of where I came from and where I'm at and how I'm treating people and how I'm treating myself and how I'm trying to live, that becomes something to motivate you to say, hey, listen, this guy came from the same circumstances I came from. Maybe I can employ some of the stuff that he has along with what I have and make it that way, but it would suit me and my family. Instead of me coming in your house with guns trying to force feed you what I've done and trying to mold you into what I am. Right? Why is that so hard? Why doesn't anyone talk like that? Why don't they ask those questions? Because if democracy is so great, and if the democracy in the rule of law, as they say, in the government is so great, then why do they have to make war with everybody? Why do they have to demonize everybody? Why do they have to fight everybody? Why do they have to villainize everybody and then victimize the people that they villainize? Why? Because if it was so great, you would not have to force anybody to do it. They would come willingly because they would see it as a beneficiary. They would benefit in the greatest manner from doing it. You don't have to force feed nobody. You don't have to make anybody pick up $1 million. They'll pick it up because they know that's in their interest. Listen, I go on these rants because common sense is not so common anymore. People like they don't have common sense. By the way, let me shout out to my guy, Carl Zah in the building. We'll have Carl on the show tomorrow. You guys got to join us. It'll be at 6 Central Time, 6 p.m. Central Time. All right. I think it's episode 10 of the War Report, our series that he and I have together. All right. Hit the like button. So now, how does that connect? Well, I'm going to play a clip of what's going on in South Korea, right? And remember that I was telling you guys that the West, they're losing bad, so they're going to put on a full court press. So they'll distract you somewhere else. And what they're trying to do in Syria and Lebanon, what they're trying to do is stretch Russia and put fear in Iran. They're trying to stretch Russia because they still don't believe that Russia has the capabilities to deal with what's going on her border and then deal with what's going on in the West Asian region. They still don't believe that. They have this, you have to understand, that they are smitten with derision. So all they can see is American exceptionalism and UK exceptionalism. And in their mind, their excrement don't stink. But everybody else has limitations to what they can do, but not the American and British Empire, which is trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars in debt. They don't have any limitations now, even though the debt burden grows by leaps and bounds every hour. But they want to press Russia, press China, press Iran to try to break them or see if they see any cracks in their rise so that they can pounce on the cracks and push them back a little bit to stave off certain collapse of the British and the U.S. empire. That's what's going on. I'm going to tell it to you like it is. I know people are getting mad, but hey, like I always tell people, it's better to get pissed off than to get pissed on, you know? So that's real. And I'm going to look you in your eyes and I'm going to tell you the truth. I know that's not what they do nowadays with this gender bending and all of this other stuff. But the way I was brought up is you look a person in the eyes, you tell them what's real, you tell them what you can do and what you can't do. And when you shake your hand to a person, that is tantamount to a contract. All right. So I'm shaking your hand and telling you that I'm going to be as honest can be. And I'm going to tell you about the real life situations in this geopolitical game that they're playing. All right. So listen to this real quick about South Korea, and we'll be right back.
We are following developing situation in South Korea. Their president has lifted martial law he imposed after the parliament defied him by voting to overturn it. It began when President Yoon Suk-yeol made an unannounced address to the nation declaring martial law while accusing his political opposition of sympathizing with North Korea. Following the order, the military announced political gatherings would be suspended. Despite that, enough members of parliament were able to meet and vote to block the martial law decree. Charlie D'Agata joins us now from the Pentagon. Charlie, thank you for making time for us. Can you walk us through how we got to this moment and what has happened since the martial law was ordered?
Weijia, nice to see you again. It has been a tumultuous day. You know, the night ended in South Korea with the South Korean president declaring martial law. It took everybody by surprise. It took South Korea by surprise. Obviously, North Korea took the Pentagon, State Department, White House. Nobody was expecting this. And it was real. That martial law went into effect immediately. And as you said, banning protests, any kind of political dissent, taking control of the media. And it lasted for a fair few hours because, yes, the parliament came in, as many as could, because this is late at night, early in the morning. About 190 of 300-something came in by unanimous decision, reversed that. But apparently under South Korean law, they may reverse it. It's then up to the president to go ahead and accept that reversal. And about 6 hours later, he said, "Okay, we'll agree to take that order back." So, but for a tumultuous 6 hours, the country was under martial law order, and this is a major ally, military ally of the United States. There are 28,500 troops there. At bases throughout South Korea. So this is something that the Pentagon was closely monitoring. I can tell you, Pentagon officials tell me that the mill-to-mill, as they call it, the South Korean military and the U.S. military were in constant communication throughout. Yes, there's a lot of soldiers that live off base, but they would have had to adhere to that curfew. But as I said, this was late at night. By early morning, about 6 o'clock in the morning, that had been reversed. But, a tumultuous time. The North Koreans were looking at it, and this is a major U.S. ally in that region.
Well, the State Department has also expressed their concerns. Let's watch.
We are watching the recent developments in the ROK with grave concern. We are seeking to engage with our Republic of Korea counterparts at every level. Our alliance with the Republic of Korea is ironclad, and we're fully committed to that. And ultimately here, our hope is, and every hope and expectation is, that any political disputes will be resolved peacefully and in accordance with the rule of law.
And Charlie, given the close allyship that you just laid out with South Korea, what role does the United States play when something like this unfolds?
Well, yes, of course, the South Korea is a diplomatic partner, but it is what we would hope to be, what the United States would hope to be, is a stable democracy. But importantly, you have that U.S. Military contingent there as well. So I think in terms of what's going to happen to this South Korean president, it was described to me as a Hail Mary. He was facing impeachment. This is probably going to be quickened. Yes, there needs to be a stable political democratic society. That needs to be a trading partner for the United States. But as far as they're concerned, here at the Pentagon, as far as the military is concerned, we've got North Korea. North Korea has acted belligerently in the past few months. They want to keep those channels of communication open. It's also worth noting that there's nothing to indicate that North Korea had changed anything in their posture in order to exploit the situation. As far as the U.S. is concerned and the North Korean military, importantly, the South Korean military is concerned, it's business as usual, and they're going to maintain that sort of stability, whatever the sort of political upheaval happens in South Korea itself.
All right, Charlie D'Agata, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm going to replay part of that clip in just a second, okay? Because there's something to that clip. But at the end of the clip, the guy's talking about North Korea has acted belligerent lately. Now, North Korea has no bases on America's border. North Korea is not trying to prevent the reunification of some part of the United States with the United States, right? North Korea is not holding war games on a daily and weekly basis on the U.S.'s border. North Korea is not deploying nuclear weapons, even though they have them. They're not deploying them to the shores of the United States. They're not saying that they will reduce North Korea to a piece of sand. But North Korea has been, see, this is what I'm telling you. And I think a lot of the pundits, a lot of the channels, they, without thinking, I think they don't realize that a little imperialism is in their talk. So when they look at it, they just dismiss what this guy is saying. But if you leave that there, then other people will think that's the truth. That's not the truth. North Korea is not the belligerent one. How is North Korea belligerent? Because they say if America strikes them, they'll strike them back. Didn't America say that with any of her adversaries? How is North Korea belligerent? Because it is test firing rockets. Doesn't America test fire rockets every day? How are they belligerent when America has on North Korea? It's not the other way around. How is North Korea belligerent if they says if the United States or South Korea violates their territorial waters or their airspace, then they will respond immediately with a military strike? Isn't that what America would do? Huh? And why don't people let this pass? The hypocrisy. I'm telling you this. It's what I tell you. There's an atmosphere of hypocrisy and exceptionalism and imperialism. And it seeps down and it permeates into the minds of the average person in the Western world. So when people say stuff like that, it just is accepted and they keep moving on. But if you don't address these little things, it becomes facts. Even though it's wrong, it becomes facts in the heads of most people because they don't have the access to the intelligence. They don't have the access to real-time movements and what's really going on the geopolitical chessboard. But we have to address that. But I want to go back to something that he said, okay? In the first minute or so of what he said. I want you to check this out again, okay? Just give me a second because I want to address this too.
We are following developing situation in South Korea. Their president has lifted martial law he imposed after the parliament defied him by voting to overturn it. It began when President Yoon Suk-yeol made an unannounced address to the nation declaring martial law while accusing his political opposition of sympathizing with North Korea. Following the order, the military announced political gatherings would be suspended. Despite that, enough members of parliament were able to meet and vote to block the martial law decree. Charlie D'Agata joins us now from the Pentagon. Charlie, thank you for making time for us. Can you walk us through how we got to this moment and what has happened since the martial law was ordered?
Ouija, nice to see you again. It has been a tumultuous day. You know, the night ended in South Korea with the South Korean president declaring martial law. It took everybody by surprise. It took South Korea by surprise. Obviously, North Korea took the Pentagon, State Department, White House. Nobody was expecting this. And it was...
That's what I wanted right there. Now, this man really see, let me say something first before I address this. These people do not respect your intelligence. And these people that call themselves news reporters or journalists are the worst mouthpiece of the empire. Listen to what he says, that nobody expected it. It caught everybody by surprise. It caught South Korea by surprise. It caught North Korea by surprise. It caught the Pentagon by surprise. It caught the U.S. by surprise. Now, let us look at that for a minute. The United States has bugs everywhere in South Korea. They have agents everywhere in South Korea, okay? Now, how could declaring martial law catch the United States off guard when if South Korea declares martial law, guess what happens? That means that their preparations for war, right? Listen to what I'm saying to you. And in wartime, the United States has control over South Korea, the entire South Korea. If you think I'm lying, Google it. Look it up. In wartime, the United States military has complete control over the government of South Korea. So who did that benefit? What? In a crime, what? Motive? opportunity, and who benefits. So we're going to address these three here: motive, opportunity, and who benefits. What was the motive behind declaring martial law? Well, they said it, but they spent it a little bit for you. They didn't want you to understand. They said the president said he did this because he was being blocked at every turn by the elected officials, right? Well, that's what government does, right? So all of a sudden, you're mad because you're being blocked because you can't impose your rule. That's the mind of a dictator, right? So listen, he said that they were trying to appease North Korea. He didn't tell you what the real deal was. Those politicians were telling the government to stop antagonizing North Korea. And let's move into trying to reunify and move American troops off South Korean territory. Now, why did nobody talk about that? Huh? So all of this just happened. It caught the U.S. by surprise. The United States controls the intelligence services of South Korea. It controls the military. And in wartime, or quote-unquote martial law, the government must abdicate its full responsibilities to the commanding U.S. general over there. But it caught the U.S. by surprise. Now, by knowing that, do you believe that? Knowing what you just learned, do you believe that? The people were, I said this on multiple shows. The people in South Korea are, and in Japan too, across wherever the United States have bases at, Okinawa and these surrounding regions. The people are protesting daily. They've been doing it for years, demanding U.S. troops to leave. The U.S. media and the Western media will not report it. And so the people were protesting, and some of the officials were saying, listen, we know we have problems with North Korea, but let's stop antagonizing them with all of these war games. Let's put a halt on all of this and tell America, let's dial down the provocation and the war games. Please don't deploy your aircraft carrier group here, and please don't deploy your nuclear weapons vessels here, nuclear armed vessels here. And all of a sudden, we have a martial law. Motive. Huh? Right? Motive, opportunity, and who benefits. Motive, they were feeling like that all around the world, all of their lackeys are crumbling and falling. They're losing their position. Right? And if they could have enacted and kept martial law, guess what happens? Then they could move, they could play musical chairs with the politicians and keep the U.S. bases there, because they really don't care about South Korea. And in reality, let me be honest with you, they don't care about North Korea either. The object of the game is China and Russia. And the United States did a survey, not the United States, but I think it was the United States, and I think it was some other nation. They did a survey of North Korea, and they found that North Korea had trillions of dollars of untapped rare minerals. You know who controls the rare minerals? China. And they have untapped platinum and palladium and gold reserves, oil, untapped oil and gas reserves. So guess what? If they continue to mount pressure on North Korea, guess what happens? They believe that the economic sanctions, the psychological warfare, plus the military pressure on a daily basis could collapse the government of North Korea. Then they can put in their pliant government of South Korea to take control, and they can move their bases right up to Russia's and China's borders right there. And they'll have control. They would break the Chinese stranglehold on rare earths. Man, these people are wicked as hell. I'm telling you this. They don't care about life. They don't care about human rights. It only matters when they can use that as a trump card against you. That's it. You are just a hair to them in the wind. Right? Well, I tell you what. Why haven't you heard this? Huh? Ask yourself, why haven't you heard this? And all of this is playing in the backdrop while the United States is letting Israel loose by violating the ceasefire, which I told you was not going to hold. It was to buy time. It was to rest, rearm, and recalibrate. because they are pushing for regional war. They believe that this is their moment. If they can stop Iran from being a opposite pole of power to their lackey Israel, then they can still dominate the region and dominate the pipelines and the waterways and the land routes of the so-called the petrol wars, right? That's what they want to do. And they believe that it is now or never, because the time has now run out for them to really beat China in the military confrontation. So we go back to what the United States announced when I told you at the beginning of the show, that they put it out there through the media that they may start seizing cargo ships and confiscating what's on the cargo ships. Now think about this. That's why they're trying to put more pressure on Iran to justify sanctions. To say that this is aimed at China, this is aimed at Iran, when they know all along that China gets a huge amount of its oil from Iran. That's like me coming into your house, telling you, listen, sit down, I'm not here for you, and then going over and slap your mother. How would you react? You'll get up and do something to me, because it reflects on you and it affects you at the same time. They play these word games with you guys because they believe that they have dumbed down enough of the masses that they can get away with this stuff. Seriously. So, and that's why they play the games with this platform here, erasing the huge numbers of subscribers, unsubscribing people. We have it all the time. People, we unsubscribed. Oh, such and such and such. Oh, the video got deleted. All this. Oh, you got suspended. Oh, all of this stuff. You got warnings. All of that. Now, if my show is buffering, I want to show you something. You can't see it, but I got proof. Before the show, I want to say it to everybody. It is not me. I hit the internet provider, told them to reboot everything before my show so I wouldn't have any problems. I got the confirmation that it was rebooted. So if there's a buffering, it's not on me. And then it says excellent connection. Okay. So I just want to let you guys know that. But I want to get to something. Okay. So we need to hear this real quick. All right. Because what this guy is saying is real. This guy says this is the last gas attempt by the Biden administration. And I'm going to tell you this. Shout out to my guy, Naeem88, for the super chat, the $10 super chat. I got to put you up there. Thank you so much. Naeem, let me see. Are they going to? Naeem? All right, there we go. Sometimes they prevent me from putting it up there. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Thank you. Listen, I want to play something for you guys, and I'm going to leave this up while I play it. Where is it at? I want you to listen to this. This is about 3 minutes. And we're going to come back and address this, and we're going to play another clip along the lines of this. And this is how you get a true understanding of what's going on. Remember, everybody in the alternative media is not alternative thinkers, you know? And everybody that you look up to, let me hold that back because I might offend some people. But listen, if they're not telling you these things, then what are they useful for? Huh? And I'm not talking, my shout out to my guy, Brian Berletti, all the people that's on my show, thank each and every one of them, because those guys come out and those girls come out and they tell you what's on their mind and some of their context. But I want you to listen to this clip here, and we'll be right back after it.
Well, let's trust now live to author and former British diplomat, Ian Proud. Ian, it's good to have you join me now. So, Pentagon Chief Lloyd Austin has said that using long-range missiles will not change the situation on the battlefront. So the question is, so why allow Kiev to use ATACMS if they're not going to change the situation in the battlefront?
Well, this is a last gasp attempt by a sort of failing Biden administration to go out and escalate the war, knowing that President Trump, when he comes in, actually wants to have negotiations to bring an end finally to this dreadful war, which serves nobody's purposes. It's quite a cynical and unconscionable move, in my personal opinion.
Now, with Joe Biden being a lame duck leader who's leaving the White House in 2 months, the Republicans currently control Congress and are assuming the presidency in January. Is there anything they can do to block the Democrats' military moves before then?
We've already seen actually some quite vocal statements from people on the Republican side of politics in the US criticizing this last gasp attempt by Biden to escalate the war. So I think actually you'll see that increasingly over the next kind of day or so, where Republicans come out and criticize this move and say that actually it's an unnecessary escalation that's kind of creating risks for safety in Europe, but also safety for kind of US, French and UK assets in particular. Nothing good can come out of this, but I don't think they can necessarily block it. However, I should imagine that behind the scenes, Trump and his team are kind of thinking about ways in which they can signal to Russia that they actually want to end the war.
All right. Do you think this escalatory move has been Biden's decision, or there are some real force in charge somewhere?
Well, to be honest, the people driving policy on Ukraine have been the same people that were in charge in 2014, the likes of kind of Jake Sullivan, who was actively involved in the overthrow of Yanukovych in 2014. He's still the national security advisor, even though she's been sidelined. The likes of Victoria Nuland and people on that sort of neocon side of republicanism. The deep state is kind of very active here. I don't think Kamala Harris plays a role, and Joe Biden is, most of the time having an afternoon nap, quite frankly. So I think, the deep state interests, including the massive military-industrial complex, in the US, is kind of very much keen to continue this war and gain billions and billions in further profit from it at Ukraine's expense.
Right now, while countries of the global south have tried to come up with peace initiatives, the West keeps ramping the conflict up. Why is that?
Well, the Biden administration keeps ramping it up, although it's done it in a very, very incremental way. They still cling to this idea that somehow Ukraine can deliver some sort of strategic, victory in a war that's very evidently kind of losing on the battlefield, as your report said, earlier. Lots of kind of, even the New York Times had a piece in the last day or so saying that this is a proxy war, by the US. And actually kind of they should end it as soon as they possibly can. So even kind of moderate voices in the US are turning against this ridiculous kind of, dangerous policy of the Biden administration.
All right, we have to leave you here now. I am proud, former British diplomat, and Arthur, thank you so much for your insight.
Thank you.
So let's address that for a minute. He says this is the last gasp attempt. According to the Google's dictionary, that phrase, last gasp, is an adjective, and it means done at the last possible moment, typically in desperation. So it goes along with what I was telling you guys, that the empire is desperate. When people become desperate, they do desperate things, and things that the person that is not under that pressure looks at as crazy and ill thought of and all. When you're in a position of desperation, then anything that you believe that can buy you a little more time is rational, even when it's not rational. That's what he's talking about. So to show you what he's talking about, when he says that America's, she's starting wars everywhere, she's just desperate, right? I want you to see something real quick. Well, let me go. What screen am I on? All right, let's go here real quick. So I want you to understand, I pulled up something. And I just put in, you can put in these words also. I already knew the size, but I wanted to put it in there. South Korea is the size of what U.S. state? And it shows you that it's roughly the size of Indiana, which is a small U.S. state. Or it's roughly a little bit bigger than the state of, I believe, West Virginia, if I'm not mistaken. All right? Roughly about the size, okay? Now, why does the United States have more bases in South Korea than she has in Indiana and West Virginia? I'm asking. Why don't anybody ask these questions? And what are the needs for these bases? You say that you are the most powerful military, then why must you always have forward bases? Huh? The nations that you occupy, you say every nation has a right for self-determination. They have determined that they no longer need your presence there. So why don't you just leave? Because it's not in her nature. Did Britain just leave? No. The only time Britain left is when the financial disaster ensued. Not mostly military, financial disaster. You know why they left India? They didn't fully leave India. So let me get that straight. They didn't fully leave. They didn't fully leave these places that they claim to have left because they were still bound. These places that they left physically, they were still tied to them politically and financially. That's why you have that fifth column in India that doesn't know if it wants to be in the camp of Russia and China or be over there with the US and the UK. That was done on purpose. Why do you think that when everywhere the British pulled out, they left some type of disagreement with the neighbors? They did that on purpose so that you can refer back to them so that they can come up with an agreement that you can so-called, quote unquote, get along in peace. So if I start the trouble and I dictate the terms of peace, then I rule both of you. This is an age-old move by colonialists. And nobody calls it out. And I'm going to show you a little bit more of the hypocrisy of the Western world, okay? Let me play this clip right here. And I may stop it and then play it some more. And I may stop it and play it some more. It's a short clip. It's only like 4 minutes. But I want you to listen to the imperialistic talk in their mind. Now, to attack Russia, to openly state that we give Ukraine the weapons and we provide them with real-time intelligence, and we give them permission for deep strikes in Russia. Oh, but it's just to defend themselves. And then to acknowledge, yeah, we will be the ones pulling the trigger. That's not an act of war against Russia. No. Supplying F-16s and ATACMS and those uranium bombs and all the Abrams and all, that's not an attack on Russia. How dare you say that? Supplying weapons to Chinese Taipei, which is known as Taiwan, to fight its brother on the mainland. That's not an act of war. But if China were to supply weapons to the secessionist movement in the United States, this would be unacceptable for the United States. The hypocrisy and this self-conceited people here in the Western world. Listen to what this is. I just want you to hear the first minute before I play some more, because this is absolutely crazy. Listen to this.
Hours after Russia launched a ballistic missile into Ukraine, the Kremlin threatened to attack a new American defense base in Poland with advanced weapons. Victoria Coates from the Heritage Foundation joins me now. Victoria, thanks for being with us. This would be, would it not, a direct attack on NATO?
Oh, good to be with you, Brian. Yes, this is deeply concerning. This is a new missile defense base on the Baltic Sea. The United States just opened. It's called Aegis Ashore. It's one of our most sophisticated missile defense systems. It protects not only Poland, but also our Baltic allies, Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia. And so, yes, this would be very much an attack on the United States, on NATO. And, you know, I have a very, very bad sense we're sort of drifting back into the Cold War here.
Okay, so I want to talk about that very bad sense.
This would be an attack on NATO. Not that NATO is attacking Russia. Do you see what I'm talking about? So if Russia responds, it's not a counterattack, it's not a response, it's an attack. So nobody's going to say anything about the weapons, the warplanes, the radars, the intelligence, and all of these special forces that are occupying the Kursk region in Russia, that are fighting against Russian forces on the battlefield in Russia and in Ukraine, the sabotage groups that are trying to infiltrate Russia. That's not an attack on Russia. That's not an act of war. That's not a Cold War mentality. But for Russia to respond, that's an act of war. And you have pundits saying, well, Russia should wait out its time for Trump to get in office. Listen to me good. Changing the jockey on the horse is not going to change the horse. I want you to understand what they're saying, okay? Because, and I'm gonna go slow with this on this part right here. They must wait. They should wait it out to Trump takes office, right? How about this? People's lives matter. So how about you, when Trump gets in office, you tell him about why we responded so that he can tell, let's remove our troops. But we have to respond. You can't just kill us and tell us to wait for Trump to get into office. You can't just bomb my territory and tell me to wait. I have a people. I have a nation. I have interests that I have to defend and protect, just like Trump does. So since you are the belligerent one and you're the aggressor, don't tell the victim to wait. Let the victim respond and let the aggressor then wait and think about things. Why? What's so hard about that? In America, listen to me good. If you rape somebody, or if you kill somebody, or you badly hurt somebody, all right, you are entitled to defend yourself. You are entitled to respond. They don't just tell the victim, oh, he's raping you. Wait till the police get there. Just let him have at you while the police is on his way. They don't tell you that. Do they? Or if somebody's in your house trying to kill you, oh, wait there. Don't fight him back. Don't be an aggressor. Just let him have his way. And we promise we'll be there shortly and we'll save you. If the 911 told you that, you would hang up on them. So why, when it's on a grander scale, we have to go to this lunacy? Huh? Am I advocating war? No, I'm advocating common sense to avoid war. But war cannot be avoided because of time. Listen, we're in a time unlike any other time that we ever been in. Back in the days, they would fight with rocks, bats, sticks, knives, cannonballs, tar plates, balls, where they would shoot lunch from those catapults with fire on them. But today, even in World War I and World War II, they did not have the armaments that they have today. Why is it that the West feel that they are entitled to use force to attack people, to occupy people, and to ignore the law, and everybody else is supposed to just take that? Huh? Would you do it in your life? The question should be asked. This is how you can get a real answer, to see if I'm out of pocket. Okay? To see if what I'm saying squares up more with real life, or what they're saying squares up with it. Would you allow them to rape you and continue raping you till the police comes, in hopes that they may apprehend the person and stop him and he won't kill you? Will you allow that person in your house with that gun to ransack your house and say, I'm going to kill you and I'm going to kill your children, and you wait there for the police without doing anything? Would you do that? And if not, why would you ask the head of a nation or the military component of that nation to do that? This is what I'm saying. Common sense is not so common today. And what we pride ourselves in over here is forcing you to think. Use that gray matter up there. Think outside the propaganda. Think outside the alternative norm. Think outside of the mainstream norm. Put yourself in these positions. And then look at what you would do if you were in that position, and how you would respond. And how dare somebody to tell a person that's being raped to wait till the police come there? How dare somebody be so condescending as to tell a person that's life and their family lives on the line to wait till the police get there? Life could be snuffed out. And if it's snuffed out, then snuff it out while I'm defending myself. Maybe both of us go out. But you won't have a freebie. Tell me if what I'm saying is wrong. I'm everybody, because I'm trying to. It seems like this is common sense, but it seems like it's not setting in to the average person. Okay, I'm gonna play that clip again, and I'm gonna read. Let me read a comment that just came up there. Incognito is in the building. Shelly is in the building. James Alec is in the building. Phobos Moon is in the building. Vera's in the building. Perseverance Chameleon is in the building. All right, shout out there. None of your business is in the building. So listen, I'm not gonna put up. I'm gonna leave that super chat up for a second. It says to prey on China. Yeah, that's what they're doing with the sanctions. They want to prey on China, but not just China. They see China as the most pressing threat. Again, I'm going to point this out to you because they are lunatics, and because China does not conform to the Western way, and refuses to be an Epstein girl or an Epstein boy. And so this is unacceptable. And how dare, see, I don't think most of you understand the depths of these people's mind. They believe that might is right, and they believe that the Western way is the only way in the Western world, especially if you don't look like most people in the U.S. and in the UK. That's what it's about. I'm going to dominate. Look at the policy. Everybody listen to me good. Go to these think tanks websites and then pull up their policies and read them. Everybody is belligerent. Everybody is testing the United States. Everybody is trying to unseat the United States. The United States is the victim in every paper. And then they say, well, China is striving to unseat the United States as the global power in Asia. Why shouldn't they? You're not. Huh? That would be tantamount to Shelley telling me, well, we have to, telling other people, well, we have to go after Rashid because he's trying to be the dominant neighbor in his neighborhood. And then you say, well, Shelley, where do you live at? And Shelley said, well, I live in Australia. I'm just throwing some. I live in Australia. Well, you don't live in America? No. You don't stay in a state? No. You don't even stay in this city or on this block? No. Then how in the hell can you get mad that I'm the number one power in my block, on my street, in my city? But America's, oh boy, I tell you what, the arrogance of these people is unreal. I want you to, let's finish listening to this, okay?
Hours after Russia launched a ballistic missile into Ukraine, the Kremlin threatened to attack a new American defense base in Poland with advanced weapons. Victoria Coates from the Heritage Foundation joins me now. Victoria, thanks for being with us. This would be, would it not, a direct attack on NATO?
Oh, good to be with you, Brian. Yes, this is deeply concerning. This is a new missile defense base on the Baltic Sea. The United States just opened. It's called Aegis Ashore. It's one of our most sophisticated missile defense systems. It protects not only Poland, but also our Baltic allies, Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia. And so, yes, this would be very much an attack on the United States, on NATO. And, you know, I have a very, very bad sense we're sort of drifting back into the Cold War here.
Okay, so I want to talk about that very bad sense for a second. I mean, you get saber rattling, you get rhetoric, and then you get things that could translate into action. How are you reading the rhetoric from Russia right now?
Well, this has really been an escalatory pattern for the last maybe week to 10 days since President Biden made the decision to give the long-range attack missiles, the ATACMS and the HIMARS, to Ukraine to attack in Russia proper. And obviously the Kremlin didn't like that. They lowered their threshold for using a tactical nuclear weapon. They fired off an ICBM, an intercontinental ballistic missile, at Ukraine, which was bizarre because those only exist to carry nuclear weapons, but this one had been modified to not carry a nuclear weapon. And now we have this. So clearly things are hotting up in Ukraine. And the problem is that the United States is in a state of transition from one president to another, and it's not entirely clear who's calling the shots.
Do our adversaries view the 2 months before President-elect Trump takes office, do they view that as a window to do exactly this sort of thing?
Yeah, transitions are always dangerous, Brian, but they can be orderly if, it's clear that the caretaker president is just that, not making major decisions, not creating crises. But the Biden administration seems to be doing the opposite. It's almost as if they want to make this situation as difficult as possible for the incoming president. And I think, though, clearly Vladimir Putin knows Donald Trump. He knows there's going to be a much more firm hand on the American tiller when he's inaugurated on January 20th. So my hope would be that he keeps it as much in the box as possible until then to allow for a negotiated end to this terrible war. But it's deeply concerning for the next 60 days.
All right, next one for you, Victoria. Senator John Fetterman slammed the International Criminal Court after they issued arrest warrants for Benjamin Netanyahu and Yoav Gallant. Fetterman said, no standing.
So now let's address something. Again, they put the onus on the victim not to respond to the aggression. I don't care if it's 1 day, 1 week, 1 month. You're still the aggressor. Oh, man, I tell you what. So listen, I saw some incognito put down there. But I'm gonna venture from that, but I'm glad he put that down there because it directed my mind to address something else about this Hunter Biden situation. Okay, everybody that listens to me know how I feel about the Bidens, one of the most corrupt families around. All right, so when you hear what I'm saying, listen to me. All right, listen good. So I'm gonna offend some people on both sides of the aisle, but guess what? So what? So what? All right. Look, Biden said he would not pardon his son, and then he went back on his promise, and everybody is outraged. Then he go back on his promise not to put Abrams over there, not to send the TACMs, not to send the anti-tank missiles, not to send the F-16s, not to send long-range strike weapons into Russia. And you saw that and that pattern there. And then when he did what he did, it surprises everybody in their outrage. Man, stop this. Stop this foolishness. Stop it. Listen. And let me tell you something. I don't see nothing wrong with what he did by pardoning his son, because if it was mine, I would have pardoned him too. That's the responsibility of a parent, to look out for their children. No matter what the child has done, you as a parent love them. And it is your responsibility to do what you can to protect them and move them out of harm's way. Now let me tell you why he did it. See, since I told you I would have done the same thing, but I'm going to tell you why. And I'm going to tell you about the charges against him, okay? So those charges against Hunter, were the weakest of charges. Listen to what I'm telling you. Go look at the charges. One of the charges, and the reason I'm saying is it's not defending him. You'll see that I'm condemning him as I go on, okay? So just listen to me. Some of the charges that he was convicted on were some of the weakest charges. Who, looking at this, has not embellished a little bit on the application? They arrested him and charged him because he denied falsifying a gun application, because he said he wasn't on drugs or on cocaine or whatever when he was. That was one of the things he was convicted of. You tell me anybody watching this stuff has not fudged a little bit on an application. Stop this. Stop it. But I'm going to tell you why. Why Biden pardoned him and why the FBI went after him on the weakest of the charges. Remember, I had Larry Johnson on, and Larry Johnson happened to be a friend of the father of the guy who had Hunter Biden's laptop. And he contacted Larry because he got scared. And I'm not revealing something me and Larry said behind closed doors. I'm just going to tell you what he said on my show, okay? And it was a lot of crap up there. A lot of crap. But they chose not to pursue the stuff that was on the computer. They went after the most frivolous parts. Why? Because the boomerang effect, because the stuff on there also pertains to high-powered people. So some of the same people are screaming about Biden pardoning his son. Some of those same people are just doing it for political points. But they understand that there was a boomerang effect, because if any FBI was serious about prosecuting him, there were way stronger charges on those computers than what they went after him about. But they had connection to these people, money laundering, the trafficking, and all of this other stuff. So nobody talks about it. All they talk about is Joe Biden went against his word. But you notice the people on the other end of the aisle or other side of the aisle are kind of quiet a little bit about some of that. All right? You know why? Because Biden not only saved his son and himself from corruption and embezzlement and money laundering, but he also saved a lot of other people. So this is not just a Democratic corruption thing. This goes all the way around. All the way around. So if we're going to call it like it is and not like we would like it to be. Because I'm telling you straight up, if that was my son, my nephew, my niece, my sister, my brother, or people close to me, I would have pardoned them too. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. But the difference between me and Joe is I would have done it earlier. And when people would have been outraged, I said, I don't care. I'm the president. The Constitution gives me the inherent right to pardon whoever I want to pardon. Deal with it. And would have kept stepping. So you telling me it's more grave to the Constitution and more outrageous and more affront to the United Republic and the legal system for him to pardon his child than the murdering of masses of people in Libya, North Africa, Syria, Lebanon, in Ukraine. So that trumps that. Man, stop this foolishness now. I don't know who you think you're talking to. Stop it. The national security, yes, sure, some of those charges had national security implications. But what's more detrimental to the country? Spending trillions of dollars to prosecute wars around the country, around the globe, to alienating everybody, to forcing people to remove themselves from your dollar system, which keeps your whole economy and military afloat, or Hunter Biden and his crack epidemic? Talk to me. I know people get mad, but I told you I only know one way to be, and that's to be straight up. To tell it to you like it, like it is, like it is, like it is. All right. So, let's see. Incognito said, somebody might off Hunter. Somebody might off. This is what I'm saying. You don't. When Biden said this, he was wrong, but he was right at the same time. When he said that his son was being prosecuted because of the family that he's from, he was right about that. They were scoring political points. They were. But at the same time, he was right to be prosecuted for the dirt that he did. Right? So in reality, he was right and he was wrong for that. And we just got to call it like it is. Just because you may be a Democrat, man, forget that. Just because you may be a Republican or independent, forget that. Just tell the truth. Tell the truth. Okay? You cannot please everybody all the time. Let's see. Incognito says, let me put it, it's about to come up. Like all the peeps in jail for nonviolent drug offenses, some put in jail by Joe's crime bill, right? These people should have been pardoned yesterday. I'm telling you this. You know, they say, well, we have to go to Congress to change the law. How about an executive order like you do with everything else you want? To nullify it for a while. Huh? See, you can pull that over on other people, but you can't do it with me. I'm a thinking man. So now we go back to who benefits. I didn't leave that. Motive, opportunity, and who benefits with South Korea. Right? the United States would be the biggest beneficiary of martial law. Not the people of South Korea, not the people of North Korea, not the government of North Korea, not the government. You see what's going on with the government right now of South Korea. The one who's behind the scene controlling the movement of the politicians would benefit the greatest because it would cement more power into their hands. So if that is the case and you are an investigator, all trails lead toward the U.S., right? In preparations for something big that's coming down the pipeline in Asia against China. You understand? If the people would have gone for it, the United States would have been like, yeah. Now we can move and do this and do this. Because the United States still wants to put a base on Jeju Island. You heard what I just said? The United States still wants to put a military facility on Jeju Island. That is a Korean island that's roughly about 5 miles or 10 miles away from mainland China. Yeah. Y'all don't think this stuff is connected? boy. Man, I've kept you guys this long. Listen, you guys got to join us tomorrow. No, I'm not gonna go yet. I'm gonna stay a couple more minutes because some people are just joining. Give me a couple more minutes with my people. All right. Yeah, the military industrial complex, Fly Crocodile. You're right. Incognito has it right. Has it absolutely right. Let me put this up on the screen right here. This is what I was getting at. Boom. Let's see. Bam. Right there. On the screen. So, again, when they try to tell you about all this mess about America's innocent and didn't know about what was going on in South Korea, who is the instigator of color revolutions? The U.S. and the U.K. They tried it in Syria. They did it in Libya. They tried it in Burkina Faso, in Niger, and Chad, and all of these areas. They tried it in Bolivia. They tried it down there in Colombia. They tried it down there in Panama. They tried it in Venezuela. They're trying it in Mexico. They're trying it over there in they tried it in Ukraine. They tried it in Georgia. They've done it in the Philippines. They tried it in Thailand. So you want me to believe that the masters of color revolutions and regime change and the imposition of what they call democracy had no inkling of what was going on and had no idea? Man, you know what I have to say to that?
What you talking about, Willis?
I'm trying to tell you. I'm telling you, man, don't believe the hype. Do not believe that foolishness that these people are selling to you, okay? These people are crazy as hell. And they will stop it. Like, people think that everything is going to change when Trump gets in office. The priorities may change a little bit because Trump is more concerned with China. So he may try to pause it with Russia, not stop it, pause it. So that he can rest, rearm, and recalibrate. Because they understand that they only have a few more weeks before that. I think it's a few more weeks. It could have been past. That study that came out from the West, they had 12 to 16 or 12 to 18 months. This was like a year and some ago. That they did all of these studies and they war gamed about 20 some times. And they had these studies. And they said that they had 12 to 16 or 12 to 18 months before they, if this time ran out, they could not hope to win a war against China or reverse the rise of China and their descent. They said that. They war gamed it 20 plus times. And each time the United States lost more swiftly and more devastatingly. The only time when the United States did better, and I'm not saying that she didn't lose, I'm saying she did better, it's when she employed futuristic weapons that she don't have. Futuristic weapons, and then she knocked down the effectiveness of some of China's new weapons. Now, these were projections. And the only time that America, she lost a lot, but she didn't lose her complete Navy. So the only time that this happened is when she employed futuristic weapons that she does not even have. So it is pressing for them to get somebody in office that is focused on China. It's pressing. As a matter of fact, what did this guy say? Let me pull up something real quick for you guys. Hold on one second. Where is it at? This guy said something very keen. I think I had oh man, where is it? I had a clip. I'm not gonna play this whole clip. I'm just gonna play it because this is a long clip. It's about 7 minutes. I'm hoping that it'll get to a point where this guy is letting you know about what he thinks is going to take place in a change of presidencies. Listen to what he says.
Kiev has denied that it's considering developing nuclear weapons. That's after a British media outlet cited a Ukrainian Defense Ministry report that claims the country could produce an atomic bomb within months. According to the document revealed by The Times, Ukraine could tap into its nuclear power plant fuel reserves to create hundreds of low-yield warheads. Last month, Vladimir Zelensky said the country must have atomic weapons unless it joins NATO. He later tried to walk back his apparent threat, claiming he was misunderstood. Well, joining us live to discuss this now is former U.S. Army officer Stanislav Kropivnik. Many thanks for joining us on the program. It's very good to see you. So, once again, Ukraine is denying a new development over its alleged nuclear ambitions. What do you make of this latest flip-flop on Kiev's part?
First of all, thank you for letting me join. Second of all, well, what can you say? This is blatant blackmail aimed at Europe and the United States. And I think they figured out after they uttered those words that they may have stepped a little too far or stepped into something sticky on the ground that I'd rather not have stepped in. The reality is Ukraine is not going to make low-yield nuclear weapons. They could, theoretically, but it's not going to be something done in a couple of months. The fuel that they have is nuclear fuel. It's low grade compared to what is needed for an actual chain reaction, a nuclear chain reaction. So that what they have, they could enrich it, but if they actually still have those facilities and haven't sold them off, Ukraine never had nuclear weapons. That's another fallacy that Zelensky always loves to mention. Ukraine was never the owner of nuclear weapons. The nuclear weapons belonged to the Soviet Union, and the inheritor state of the Soviet Union was the Russian and is the Russian Federation. So those nuclear weapons always belong to the Russian Federation. What they can do is make dirty bombs. Those they can make, of course, in quite a volume. A dirty bomb does not have a nuclear chain reaction. It is just nuclear material that's slapped together on top of an explosive charge and set off somewhere. So it's a contamination bomb, basically.
Well, I'm wondering if Kiev really wanted to and had the potential to develop such weapons, what do you think has been stopping them from doing it all this time?
The fact that they can't. These aren't people we're not dealing with rational human beings. If they had the potential to actually make a nuclear bomb, they would have, and they would have set one off by now. No doubts about it. They have broken, in this conflict, they have broken every single law and rule that has been applied, every convention that's been signed, from using chemical weapons, which they do, to using to torturing, murdering POWs, civilians, organ harvesting. There is absolutely nothing that the scum that calls Kiev home hasn't done and won't do. So we know the fact that they don't have nuclear weapons because they haven't set one off.
Let's say such a decision to develop atomic weapons was actually made by Kiev at some point and that they were capable of it. What could potentially be done to prevent that from happening?
Well, first of all, we're already doing it. It's called the SVO, SMO in English. Well, if we recall, one of the main reasons for this was Kiev's threat to gain nuclear weapons. Which Kiev stated, as a matter of fact, that their aim was to acquire nuclear weapons. This was done in the beginning of February, if I recall, beginning of February 2022. That was their aim. Plus, NATO also wanted to set nuclear-tipped missiles in Kiev around Ukraine on the Russian border. So in both cases, the SMO is the exact response that would have, it should have, and is happening to those threats.
I'm just wondering how, with this report that's come out by the Times, citing this Ukrainian military report about atomic weapons, how it all aligns with the US President-elect Donald Trump's pledge to end the Ukraine conflict. It seems time is running out.
Well, honestly speaking, I don't believe Trump is going to be backing off on anything. First of all, if we look at his picks and nominations so far, this is going to be one of the most extreme neocon administrations that's been around since the last Trump administration. It looks like he's going to be making Biden look like a pacifist. The only difference is the majority of them are focused on China, and their desire is to try to pull Russia away from China. So they're trying to do this bait and switch. Look, we'll back off on Ukraine, and they're back off Ukraine because they're losing. We'll back off on Ukraine. Just come over to our side so we can deal with China, and then we'll deal with you later. Is basically what they're saying. I mean, the people that Trump has nominated, because that's what they are at this point, nominations, except for Tulsi Gabbard. All the rest of them are extreme neocons. There's nothing good that's going to be coming out of this administration.
Okay. Well, I mean, Russia is winning on the battlefield right now, so I'm just wondering, why would Moscow even agree to stop?
Difficulties, they're starting to play with the stream a little bit. Okay. What is this pausing? Okay. Let me see something. It is pausing on my end. I'm sorry, everybody. They like to play this, and it kind of teases me off sometimes when I'm in the middle of a stream or doing something. But hopefully everything is going. Everybody hit the like button. Hit the like button. Okay? It's not going to cost you a penny. Hit the like button. I'm giving you an hour and 39 minutes. You can't hit the like button? Come on now. Anyway, so you heard what he said? He said pretty much what I said. Look at Trump's picks and look at what Trump's administration did before. People always giving him a way out. This is what I'm telling you. They don't give anybody else a way out. You know why? Because they're looking for hope. He's not a politician, and he had to make some compromises to be allowed to run for president. He had to make those compromises, or else he would have never been allowed. They had the gun to him. I'm talking about the political and economic and judicial gun to him. And they realized, hey, maybe we can let this guy run for president. But we have to have a lot of our guys in these key positions so that we can monitor him. And if need be, we can undermine him. Okay? Now, the one thing he said that I do not agree with, he says that all of these people are hawks except Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard is not a Ukrainian hawk, but Tulsi Gabbard is a pro-Israeli hawk. Okay? So, now, what does that mean? What are we looking at? We're looking at a rearrest, a rearming, and a recalibration towards China. That's the most pressing. But before they can do this, they got to try to pick off Iran. And this is what the so-called change that is coming to office this next month had to say. And it's very important that you listen to this, okay? Trump threatens Hamas with hell to pay. Now, I want you to listen to this right here, because I just read part of this. I saw the article yesterday, right? But I just read the title of it today. I mean, the title and the first sentence or whatever. But I want you to listen to this. The incoming U.S. president has demanded that the Palestinian militants free all of their hostages before his inauguration. Stop right there. So right there, we get a glimpse of what we're going to see. Why? Because according to international law, not because of according to Rashid or according to Donald Trump or according to RT, but according to international law, any occupied people or nation has an inherent right to armed struggle to free themselves from occupation. Go look it up. Go look it up. So this is only applicable to the U.S., the UK, NATO nations, and Israel. Those laws are not applicable to the truly oppressed. Because the ones who are oppressing the oppressed are the beneficiaries of the laws. And so he goes and says this. I told you on this platform, we force you to think. You can't be lazy over here. You got to think. So listen to what he says. U.S. President-elect Donald Trump has warned that there will be all hell to pay in the Middle East, not just in Palestine, but in the Middle East, which is West Asia, right? If Hamas does not release its remaining Israeli hostages before he assumes office. Why didn't he throw that threat to Israel and tell Israel to release those hundreds of children that under the age of 13 that Israel has in their jails? What about him throwing that threat to Israel about all of the women in the handicap that Israel has in their jail with no charges? Listen to what I just said. They have no charges brought up against them. But instead of being just, fair, and right, he blamed the victim. Because all he can think about is October 7th. Not October 6th, 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and 1st. Only October 7th. Why? Because it hurt their minions over there on October the 7th. So as long as the people who hurt the minions were hurting October 6th and back down, it was okay. But how dare you hold hostages so that you can trade for the release of your people? Do you see that's the same mentality of Biden, of Obama, of Bush, of all of these people. It matters not who enters the office. Like I said, it doesn't matter which jockey rides the horse is still a lunatic. Okay? And so he goes further and says, Hamas militants captured more than 250 hostages during their assault on Israel last October. Well, Israel killed most of them through the bombing. While 105 were free during a short-lived truce the following month, and several others rescued this year, around 100 are believed to remain in Gaza, with Hamas it's a misspelling up here. So it says, while Hamas, with Hamas tying their release to an Israeli withdrawal from the enclave, a condition that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has refused to accept. So Hamas is saying, listen, we'll give you these hostages, but you got to pull your military and all your war criminals out of Gaza. Netanyahu says no. So you want Palestine to completely capitulate. Because that's all. How is that any different from Joe Biden? How is that any different from Obama? How is that any different from any of these lunatics that have occupied the War Department? And I say the War Department at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, not at the Pentagon. Okay? How is that any different? Oh, man. And it goes further and says this. Everybody is talking about the hostages who are being held so violently, inhumanely against the will of the entire world in the Middle East. He says this on Truth Social. Where the hell is he getting this information from? Because if he's getting this information from his own platforms, Truth Social, he needs to shut it down, because the whole world is condemning Israel, the United States, the UK, and NATO for their part in the genocide of Palestinians in occupied Palestine, for the genocide of Lebanese in Lebanon, for the genocide of Syrians in Syria, for the genocide of Iraqis in Iraq. So where's he getting his information from? Either he's openly lying, which is a telltale sign of what he would do in office, or he has picked the wrong people and is being fed a stream of foolishness. There's no in-between. There are no in-betweens with this. So he goes further and says, the article says, the incoming president then declared, listen to this, that if the hostages are not released prior to January the 20th, 2025, the date that I proudly assume office as President of the United States, there will be all hell to pay in the Middle East and for those in charge who perpetrated these atrocities against humanity. So it's humanity when it's Israelis. But we'll get to a ceasefire someday if it's the Palestinians. You're outraged for a couple dozen Israelis. You didn't part your lips for 100,000+ Palestinians slaughtered. Huh? And you think things have changed? All they are doing is playing musical chairs with the leadership. That's all they're doing. Musical chairs with the leadership. And that's why you see me always say,
What you talking about, Willis?
I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me on the most powerful platform for truth, bar none, on God's green earth. This is your platform for education, elevation, and edification. This is the Red Pill Diaries. And remember to do right by others, not because other people are watching or there's some material gain to it, but to do right by others because that's the right thing to do. And doing right brings right. All right? And it can correct a lot of wrong. On that note, know that I love each and every one of you who loves truth. But know that the love that I have for you will always pale in comparison to the love that God has for you, the true and living God. Until we next speak again, stay strong, stay true, but above all things, stay righteous. Hey, mama, your baby boy still loves you more than life. Deuces, everybody. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Peace. We're out of here.